You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 146. Actions to take today to stop hating your fat body. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Hey, hello, welcome to this episode. How you doing? How's life? You good? I'm good. You're good. Welcome to this episode. We're going to be talking about some things you can do to help with if you're struggling right now with accepting yourself and your body. Things that you can be doing, and even if you are feeling pretty good, just some checklists here to make sure that you're see if there's any areas of opportunity to improve. So yeah, but hey, I've got a date tomorrow with a human being. Yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a second date. We had a video date as a first date. You know what? I find that I'm doing more and more video dates as a first date. I'm like, it's such a good idea to kind of, so you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to dress from the waist up, to make sure that you've got some type of chemistry and that they are who they say they are or whatever. So we had a phone date yesterday, and then tomorrow we're going to go to a bar or a place to eat food or whatever. Should be good, pretty good. I had a date a couple of weeks ago, a video date with someone, and it went really well. We were like chatting for like 3 hours, I think. And then we were due to meet a couple of days later or whatever. And then 10 minutes before he was going to leave his house, he texted me to say he was counselling because he was feeling sick. And so I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, because he was coming like near my area. I had cleaned my house just in case he came round. So I'd spent like an hour cleaning up. So I was like, for fuck's sake, clean up for nothing. But he said, oh, I feel sick. And so I'm like, it's 10 minutes before he leaves. I'm like, it's a bit sus, but whatever, And so I was like, oh, okay. He says, yeah, I feel sick. And I was like, oh dear, well, I hope you're okay. And he says, well, I'm sick because I left my window open last night. And this was, in a few weeks ago when it wasn't really cold. And I was thinking, oh, well, maybe he's got like some underlying health condition where he can't be cold or something. And I don't know. And he says, oh no, because I'm just, warm-blooded and I don't like to be cold. So it's made me sick. And I was like, whatever. It's not my place to pry into the mechanics of him being sick from a window being open. So I was like, whatever, it's a bit sus it being 10 minutes before, but you got to give people the benefit of the doubt while also kind of sticking a little pin there in your brain of, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I hope you feel better. And he says, are you mad at me? I said, no, I'm not mad at you. I just kind of, it's just something to know, just, something like similar to what I just said to you, but nicer. And so then he didn't reply. And then like 3 in the morning, he's just sent a picture of the hospital, of inside the hospital. Nothing else. 3 in the morning, picture of the hospital. And so I saw it in the morning, and I was just like, what is this? This is a bit, what is he doing here? And so I texted him saying, oh my goodness, are you okay? Why are you at the hospital? And he says, I just felt so bad yesterday. I called the hospital, and I was like, oh wow, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? All this from the window being open, thinking, what's going, like, what is happening? The window being open would cause him to go to the hospital, like. And he was like, this isn't funny. And I was like, I'm not trying to be funny. And he's like, you don't believe me? And I was like, yeah, but believe you? Like, what? And so I was like, oh my, the way he's acting is just a bit strange. And so I was like, yeah, just saying, yeah, I believe you, but maybe I've said something to make you feel like I don't believe that you were at the hospital. So if that's the case, then I apologize. And then so the next day he texted me like, I think about 8 times, and I hadn't responded quick enough for him. And then the last text was him saying, oh, why are you ignoring me then? What's, basically shouting at me because I hadn't responded in a quick enough manner for him. And I was like, mate, no, this is not good. Like, that's it. That's the end. No, this is the end of that. No, we've had one video chat, and you're acting like, we're a couple or something, and that I owe you. I don't know. It was all very strange. And he kind of got stroppy when I said, I don't want to do anything. He's like, what could I have possibly done wrong in the few days that we've known each other? And I was like, well, here you go. Here are the inappropriate kind of things that kind of raising a little bit of a flag here and there, and altogether just, it's just too much. So, but anyway, I've got a date with someone else tomorrow. And so far, so good. So I'll let you know how it goes next week. See if I'm, I don't know. It seems like I can't get past like date 1 or 2 because they do something fucking where I'm like, really? What? Really? Can you not just behave? Anyway, let's talk about actions to take to stop hating your fat body. Oddie. All right, so we've been influenced to believe that fatness is bad, right? I'd say most of people who are listening to the podcast were socialized to believe that fatness is bad, and certainly have had messages from the media and all sorts of different places to say fatness is bad. And so if you're struggling liking your fat body, or even, you feel like you hate it, that's absolutely valid and absolutely to be expected. I've said it before, but I think the people who come out of childhood and into adulthood who don't have struggles with body image issue are like, they're the unicorns, right? I think it's a lot more common than we know. And so it's just a natural reaction. Your brain is behaving in a way that is to be expected. And so I think about beliefs like suitcases. If we have a suitcase and on the front of the suitcase is the belief like fat is bad. If we open the suitcase is the belief, we'll find different things inside your suitcase or my suitcase. And so my suitcase, the belief of fat is bad. I had, my parents telling me that as a kid, watching 1990s British TV, teachers saying this and that, a boyfriend saying this or whatever. And so that was my experience, which is, probably similar to a lot of people's experience, but not exactly the same. And so if you open your suitcase, which is your belief, there'll be different items in there, t-shirt, a hat or whatever, and each of those representing different things that lead up to that belief of fatness is bad. And so we want to be taking out all of those items if we can. It might take a very long time, and maybe it's not even possible, and examining those beliefs, and also having another suitcase that says fatness is okay, or even fatness is great, or even my body is worthy, or my fat body is spectacular, whatever it is that we're wanting to believe instead, and putting things in that suitcase and supporting ourselves to put things in that suitcase, and removing things from the other suitcases that are not helpful, and unpacking them, examining them, holding them up, saying, is this smelly old sock something that I really want to carry around anymore? No, it's not. Let's empty that suitcase. And so that's all kind of using an analogy or a metaphor, one of the two. Who the fuck knows? One of the two when we think about beliefs. But what are some practical ways that we can actually do this? So I have a formula which is remove, reduce, and protect. And this is what we can do if we're living in a fat-phobic society to help us with our beliefs, to unpack those unhelpful beliefs, and to support us in creating beliefs that are more helpful for us. Now, you might have the belief saying fat is bad, and some people might say that's a good belief to have because fat people are bad and fat people are unhealthy. And if that works for you, that works for you. You know, I mean, obviously, the things that are inside that belief is a whole lot of bigotry and misinformation and things like that. But I mean, if that's working for you, and for some people it is, you know. Some people who are maybe professional weight loss coaches or whatever. If it's working for you, that's great, whatever. But if it's not working for you to believe that your fat body or your body, if you're not fat, is a piece of shit, then we can try to unpack that. So remove, reduce, protect is the formula. And so let's talk about what that means. So the first step, the gold star in this process, the thing which is really amazing if you can do, is to remove sources of weight bias from your life. And that's a big asterisk, if possible. And so what that looks like is looking at your life and seeing where the greatest sources of fat phobia are coming from. And so if we just think about this for everything that we're doing, thinking about your friends, your family, your clothes, the media that you're consuming, the TV shows you're watching, the people that you're following on social media, where you live, like even your location. So sometimes I talk to clients and they're like, I live in LA and it's so beauty centric there. Where you work, perhaps you work in a place that is really focused on looks, your activities outside of work, if you work, how you move your body. And so if we're thinking about our life, we're thinking about everything, even your home. Like, do you have pictures on your wall of straight sized bodies, for example? Which is, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but examining if they are helpful or harmful or neutral in our quest to find more peace in our body. So, remove. And so, if we're thinking about removing things from our life, if possible. Okay, and so a great place to start is to get out your phone right now. Get out your phone. You're like, Vinny, I'm already on my phone listening to you, you ding dong. But see if you can go on to the social media network that you might use the most. If you do, you might say, I don't. That's fine. But if you're using Instagram, bring an open Instagram or Facebook and seeing the first 10 or 20 posts that you see, that you're exposed to, what are they? How many of them are fat positive, intuitive eating, joyful movement, talking about, social activism, juicy things, or how many of them are kind of maybe neutral? Well, I don't know, this is neutral, but dog videos, that would be definitely positive. But that's kind of like not influence you either way, right? So it might be like dog videos or, like what else could there be in the world apart from dog videos, pimple popping videos? I'm thinking of all the things that I like watching, toenail clipping videos. Sorry if I just disgusted you. So how many of those are kind of like more neutral that are not necessarily positively or negatively influencing the way that you think about your body? And how many of those are things that you're seeing of normative bodies, white bodies, thin bodies, recipes, diety type stuff? And so do this. If you're not getting enough data from 10, then do maybe 20 or more, and just see what's coming up. What I like to see is people who are maybe more along in their journey is they will say more things like, yeah, I got a lot of dog videos, and I got some like politics, and I've got a couple of body positive people, not fat positive though. And people who are newer on their journeys, they'll be like, oh yeah, there's this diet account, and yeah, there is this like thin person who's telling me that I'm an ugly piece of shit, and so that gives us some clues of what we can do to what things we can do to remove. And social media, I mean, a lot of these images we're scrolling past really quickly, and we're thinking, oh, how much is it affecting me? It is affecting. What about when you go to the page on Instagram of I think it's For You page, what things are you seeing there? I noticed when I first started Instagram for the first year or so, there were a lot of diety kind of body things on there, until I taught Instagram that I wasn't interested in that content. It will still from time to time try and show it to me. And so I had to be really, every time I saw anything that was not aligning with supporting me, I would be unfollowing, I would be blocking, I would be reporting diet ads to teach the algorithm what works for you and what doesn't, and what content you engage in. It's very tempting on the For You page. If you see something like a person's body, it's very hard not to click on that and see what is this that they're saying, right? And so if we can just help ourselves with that, so we don't have to try and avoid it. And so you can click on Instagram, you can click on the three dots and say, do not recommend this account if you see anything like that. And if you are following people who are a lot of, if there's any diet things or fat phobic things, like, hell yeah, you need to get rid of that stuff. If it's someone on Facebook, you can mute them, you can snooze them for 30 days, you can mute them forever, but you'll still stay friends. And then fill up your social media with good stuff and people who don't look like you, and all different types of varieties, because then you're training your brain to understand what human bodies look like versus a very curated and edited version of what human bodies look like, which is not really what human bodies look like. And so that is removing, right? Now, when we think about removing when it comes to friends and family, that is absolutely possible. And I have removed people from my life who are dickheads, or that was mean, but who were not great for me for whatever reason. But that was like a very long process. There might be someone who you're like, do you know what? I've just had enough of Polly. Polly is a dickhead. So you know what? I'm gonna end the relationship that I have with Polly. More often than not, you want to have relationships with people you have relationships with already, or it's not possible for you to end relationships. So for example, if your boss is a raging fat phobe, you probably don't want to send them an email saying, I've decided I ain't talking to you anymore because you're a bell end, because then your boss is going to be like, okay, well, see you later. You don't have a job anymore. But in that example, perhaps you can work towards finding a new job if that is an option for you. Or as we have the remove, reduce, protect, in the reduce, perhaps we can reduce the amount of time we're exposed to that person. But when we're thinking about remove, we can also think about it in this way. Can we remove the things that are coming out of their mouth from hitting our brain? So if your mum is particularly fat phobic, normally what I see is a mum and a sister together. And so someone's mum and sister are going on diets and stuff. And then there's that one person who's like, I think dieting's not working anymore. And the mum and the sister will be like, oh, cucumbers up the bum or whatever. And that's very difficult because it's kind of 2 against 1. And so in those instances, if possible, I really encourage people to set boundaries. Now, boundaries around this stuff might be more of an advanced level thing, but I really feel that it's very difficult to continue this journey of trying to love and accept your body if the people closest to you are engaged in bigotry, which is fat phobia and diet culture, right? It's very, very hard if the ones that are closest to you. And we're not saying that those people have to change their beliefs and their politics, but there's certain things that we should be able to, or should have the power to, again, big asterisks, if possible. There's different power dynamics out there and some things aren't possible, but we should know that there are topics that people cannot talk to us about without consequences. And so I know a lot of people will be really good at doing things like shutting down racism when it happens. And of course, if you are a white person, that should be what you're doing anyway. But say if you were talking to someone and they started saying loads of racist shit, you would be like, okay, well, that's not acceptable. And it would be very clear in your mind that you would see that as unacceptable. And of course, absolutely, any type of bigotry is unacceptable. But when it comes to bodies, it is a lot harder because it's just such a common way for people to talk, and people don't realize that it is based in anti-Black racism. And so if we know that and we've got that, this is something political. And no, it's not acceptable. I feel like in like 10, 20 years, we'll be like, oh God, remember when we were talking like people just bang on about diets and shit? But now it's, isn't that a bit like inappropriate? Hopefully. But of course, there's lots of corners of the world where people openly talk about racism and transphobia and sexism and all that type of stuff. And it is normal. You know, I'm talking from a very kind of a left leaning, mindset of my experience in community, and as we know, that is not everyone's experience. So really long term, we can't have this in a big way in our lives, right? It's because I don't feel like it's congruent with us feeling the best about our bodies if those who we are closest to disagree with basic parts of our humanity. But that might be a longer term project, right? You know, telling your mum to please don't talk about diets in front of you might be like, absolutely, that's nowhere near what I can do right now, because you might be a little, you know, newer at this stuff and not as comfortable and not know what to say. If your mum says, but don't fat people die early, or isn't fatness bad? You might not know what to say in those instances. And so you're not yet kind of tooled up to have that conversation. But just know that is something that I think is really important. And maybe you are getting close, and this might be the push that you need to say, hey, I can't, this is what I tell people to say. I tell people to say, if this sounds good for you, it might not sound good for you, but hey, I'm wondering if you can help me with something. Hey, Mum, I'm wondering if you can help with something. Yes, child, I would love to help you. What is it? I love being your parent, and I want to help you. Well, I don't know if you know, but, you know, with my history of eating disorder, or, you know how I've always hated myself. Yes, I know you've really struggled for years, dear child. That's really sad. And I'm sad that you struggled with this stuff. Yeah, so I've actually started learning about diet culture and accepting my body, and something that I've noticed is that when people talk about diets or them being on a diet or their own body even, it kind of triggers me into thinking, making it about me. And I know it's not about me. They're talking about themselves. But my brain is really good at making it about me. And so I'm wondering if you can help me by not talking about diets when I'm around. And then see what your mum says, or whoever it is that you're talking about. When we're framing it as I need your help, people are I think more likely to listen versus listen up here, motherfucker. You've been fucking ruining my life for the last 30 years. Go suck my swinging tits. Then people are on the defensive, like, well, I didn't mean to say. I'm talking about myself, and what's wrong with it? And you making it about you. Then that might be easier. That approach might sound like awful, and don't do it. But that's what I do. And then also the big thing is you need to continue with that journey, because not guaranteed, but pretty likely that your person is gonna next time you see them be like, oh my god, did I tell you about the cucumber the bum? And you're like, yes mum, you did. And then that's where people fall short, is that they're just like, well, I told her once and I tried and she's not done it. Well, if someone knows you and they've known you to be a dieter in the past, or hating your body, or that talking shit about fatness is normal for you, it's going to take more than one time telling them, probably. I mean, hopefully they hear you once and they never make a mistake again. But I think it's very normal for people to make mistakes. And that's when you are doing the really, really difficult work of bringing it up again and say, hey, you remember when I said last time about the diet thing? And, not making that big of a deal about it. And then the person might be like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Or they might be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I thought we'd forgotten about this. Or, they're going to react however they want. And then you are going to react in a way that aligns with you. And that could be, leaving, not talking to them, continuing to commit to tell them to stop, or, or not, right? Whatever is working for you. But I think we need to help people learn how to treat us, especially if they've been treating us a certain way or talking in a certain way for a long time. We need to help them understand. And I think when you decide that you need to remove the person, it's when they are egregious in their dismissal of you and they just refuse to, meet you at a common ground. And so that's happened with me, specifically with one of my sisters, who was just like, no, I am not gonna say that. I'm not gonna call you that, because I told her I don't use the O words. She says, no, I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't care about how you feel. Okay, that's fine. Unfortunately, we can't, move forward in a relationship anymore. So we never know how someone's going to react. By the way, setting boundaries, 9 times out of 10 for me, people are just like, oh yeah, cool. And previously, because I was terrible at setting boundaries, I thought people would say, fuck you, I hate you, flip a table, how dare you, oh my god, you're such a troublemaker, why are you so difficult, you're so touchy, you're so emotional, whatever. And the reality, people were just like, oh, and I was like, what do you mean? Okay. What? And still they might have had feelings, that they dealt with afterwards, but, it was very anticlimactic. But there is that 1 out of 10 where it was climactic. It went tits up. Yeah. So remove, that's one thing we can do. And there's lots of different things we can remove, right? And so going back to the categories, friends, family, clothes. Do you have clothes in your closet that are kind of goal outfits that every time you open your closet, oh, hi, I'm a pair of jeans that used to fit you like 17 years ago, you piece of shit. Then maybe get rid of them. If you're watching loads of TV shows that have tons of normative bodies and don't make you feel good, then maybe you can remove that, or you can do reduce. Yeah. And so reduce is the next one. So say, for example, you spend all of your Sunday with your fat phobic family. How about instead of spending 6 hours with them, you spend 3 hours? Because for whatever reason, you can't set boundaries. You don't want to end a relationship with them. And so you say, I'm going to reduce the amount of time. Or that TV show that you really like, you're going to, instead of watching 6 hours, you're going to watch 3 hours, and then you're going to watch 3 hours of a TV show that you know makes you feel good about yourself or neutral about yourself. Or you're going to do 3 hours of, looking at fatties on the internet, whatever it is. And maybe it's that you're going to still watch 6 hours of that TV show that doesn't make you feel good, but then you're also going to, next week not watch any of it. So, whatever. It could be something that you're doing temporarily, and it could be something where you're adding in extra good stuff to counteract the stuff that influences you. So yeah, if you've noticed, I'm having a particularly bad body image day today, thinking like, what has influenced me? Am I stressed out at work? Am I tired? Have I been watching did I binge Bikini Babes on the Beach dating show thing? Let's look at the evidence to see what's been put into that suitcase, the belief suitcase that fat is bad. What has been being thrown in there recently? And what have I been doing to put stuff into the other suitcase, which is fat is good, fat is okay, fat is spectacular, whatever it is. Or my body is good, blah, 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 blah. But reducing is not always possible, right? Sometimes you can't reduce the amount of exposure you have to something because it's just not in your influence, right? So if you go back to the work example, you have a colleague who you sit next to in the office, Susan, and Susan is always like diet culture, fat phobia. She's a fat phobia vortex, and you can't be like, Susan, you know what? I'm going to spend like less time near you because you can't move your desk. Susan's going to Susan, whatever. And so what you can do there is protect yourself. So, for example, Susan's like, la 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 la, diet culture. You can put your earphones in, maybe you can't. You can go browsing the internet for fat positive stuff. You can listen to an episode of Fierce Fatty podcast. You can go and see your therapist and be like, Susan is a fucking piece of work. So what can you do to protect yourself? What can you do to protect yourself before you're even hitting your brain with Susan-isms? What can you do beforehand? So say if you're going for a weekend away with your family and you know that they're going to be like, oh, you're so fat or whatever, can you have things set up in place already to help you? Going in there being like, okay, this is what I'm going to say. If they say this, I'm going to write it down on my notepad. This is what I'm going to do if they keep talking. I'm going to excuse myself and go to the bathroom and hide in my room, or go around for a stroll or a roll around the block or whatever. And then, be on the toilet, going onto the internet, onto the Fierce Fatty Friends Facebook group and being like, oh, relief from the fat phobia. And so again, thinking about this, remove, reduce, protect friends, family, clothes, media, where you live, where you work, your activities, your movement, anything like that. And so for everyone it's different, right? Your experience and the things that you have going on in your life are totally different from mine, maybe. So there's no kind of one thing of I'm like, okay, so your Uncle Barry, you need to say to him this and do that and blah blah blah. But if we're thinking about all of these different areas, and as well, the thing is, I am very eagle-eyed or very perceptive to these things because I do this work, right? And so I'm very like, that's that person said that, and that was based in the belief that fatness is bad. Whereas, if you're newer to this stuff, it might be a lot harder to spot because it's just a common language that we all talk. And so right now you might say, well, I think everything's okay, I think, my friends and family are pretty supportive, I think, and everything seems okay, and if that's the case, great. And also, it might be the case that you're unable to spot it right now because we're all talking a common language and it seems acceptable. And the more that you learn, you might be like, oh, actually, yeah, I did notice that that they said this or that, or there was this kind of comment that alluded to that, and you might become more aware of how things are a little bit more harmful that you can't see right now. And I think that's everything to do with our journeys, right, of unlearning all types of different systems of oppression, is that some things that we think are fine now, and you're like, years later, you're like, oh, no, I thought I was totally, I thought I was, like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, I'm not racist. And now I can be like, oh yeah, I'm racist, massively. Obviously, I'm working to be an anti-racist person, but I have so much bigotry and bias up in this gorgeous noggin of mine, just because I was socialized inside white supremacy. The default of whiteness being superior. So I think that's the kind of awareness stage of, oh, there's so many things I don't know, right? There's so many things I do not know. And that goes for so many different areas of we just don't know. And the more that we learn about this stuff, and even me, right? I do this as a job, but still there'll be things that come up and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And I hadn't thought about this, intersection with fatness, and I hadn't thought about how that person's experience might be different from mine, and we just don't know what we don't know. Isn't that a line from Pocahontas? You never knew the things you never knew. What is it? What is that? How does that line go? Something like that. Anyway, Pocahontas fans are going to be like, Vinny, it's this. You never know the things you don't. You get the sentiment. It's probably really annoying to hear me go, you never knew the things you never knew. You never know the things you don't never know. Actually, it's in the front of the Fat Studies reader. Let's see. Marilyn Wan quoted it. I'm getting it out, okay? You'll learn things, that's it. You'll learn things. You'll learn things you never knew. Lyrics from Pocahontas, an anti-colonial. I always struggle with when people do different versions of anti-colonialist movie that contains unexamined colonialism. Ha ha ha! Yes, it does. Yeah. Anyway, you'll learn things you never knew. And that is to do with all different types of learning. And also don't make that make you feel like a giving up or whatever. The fact that actually, how much do we know? Probably not that much, because you probably still also know more than you did yesterday. And same with me, no, yesterday, last week, last year, last month, whatever. And it's a process, right? So all of this stuff, here's some, from all of this stuff I said, I've given you a lot of different examples, right? And so I would go and make a list of the things that seem easy. And so the things that are easier are probably looking at your phone, probably adding in some more people that are good influences on your body image journey on your social media. If you ever want to know who you should follow, go to anyone that you're following who's fat positive, who's anti-diet, and go and see who they're following. If you see me, if you go and look at who I'm following, you'll also see disgusting pimple popping stuff. So keep that in mind. Actually, I wonder who would come up. Let's see. I'm following 2,300 people. Okay, yeah, good. I'm just seeing who I'm following, and I'm like, yeah, okay, they're all good, yeah, good, yeah, good, yeah. You know, I've got maybe like 20 people I'm friends and friends or family with, but I think the most of everyone that I follow is people that is going to be helpful for other people to follow. Yeah, lots of good things on who I'm following. So that could be one. So you're going to do that. You're then going to say if you notice that your wardrobe is filled with things that make you feel like blah. You might not even have goal outfits. That's great. And if you do have goal outfits, you don't need to feel panicked and be like, okay, well, I have to throw them in the bin and I don't want to. I'm still holding on to the idea that I could be thin, and that's fine. You can just maybe put them at the back of your closet. You can maybe put them under your bed. You can maybe, store them away somewhere, and then just, see how that feels. And then maybe one day you happen to become thin and you can get them out. Or maybe one day you'll be like, actually, I'm ready to give them away to someone, or not, whatever. And so it could be that your closet is filled with things that fit you now, and that feels good, but there's nothing in there that makes you feel woo, or makes you feel really good when you pull it out. Is that possible for you to get something that feels really good? And again, that might not be possible for many different reasons. Maybe you don't have the money. Maybe you're a supersized fat person, and it's very difficult to get clothes, and it's very difficult to get clothes that make you feel ooh, But is there, if we're moving on from that, are there any relationships where you think, okay, maybe I need to reduce the amount of time I spend with that person, or perhaps long term I can think about setting a boundary with them, or actually right now I'm ready to set a boundary with them. What media do you consume? What's coming up there for you? What shows are you watching? Everything that's going into your brain. And think about those kind of key things, the key things that are going into your brain on a day-to-day basis. Are they supporting the idea that it's okay to be fat? Are they supporting the idea that it's not okay to be fat? Or are they neutral? Neither or. Can we get more of the supporting and less of the fat is bad stuff? And so come up with some ideas of what you could do. And I'm sure there's probably a few things that have come up, and see what you can turn into kind of like a shorter term goals and longer term goals. And even with family and friends, if you're not ready to set boundaries, I know a lot of people don't even talk about this stuff yet because it's so new, right? They don't talk about the fact that they're unlearning fat phobia. So that might be another goal that you could set of, I'm actually just going to tell people that I'm on this journey. That I've decided that dieting is not working for me right now. That I've decided that I don't want to hate my body anymore. And even just talking to other people about it. Because if this is going to be something that you're committed to long term, then it will eventually happen, right? And, the reason why I don't have to set boundaries around this stuff a lot anymore is because everyone just knows it's my job. It's like a huge part of who I am. And so because of that, people who know me know not to talk shit about fatness because they know that I'll be like, that's kind of gross. And so I've got a great deal of privilege there because I don't have to set boundaries, because I've made it my personality, I don't have a personality. My personality is fat. That's it. Yeah. So, has this been helpful? Have you got some ideas? I hope you are able to create some tweaks and changes in your life to make yourself feel better. And if nothing, just go and have a big nap, have a cup of tea, whatever it is you like to do. Go and get one of those. Remember those things that there were like little wires that you put on your head, and it was like you'd scratch your head, but it'd feel really good. One of those like head massager things. Yeah. Ooh, I'd like one of those. I had one of those once, but it just seemed like a waste of space. Not that it's big, but yeah. Go and do like a little head massage thing, or just go and have a nice poo. Whatever is accessible to you. I hope you feel better. And thanks for hanging out with me today on the podcast. And we'll see you in the next episode. Okay, bye.
Perfect.